I was looking on the chat just before we came in, and I didn't see if there was anyone that had any specific questions about yesterday, or I didn't see anyone posting anything about their takeaways. So I'd love to hear some takeaways now about some of the things that stood out to you from yesterday's session, or any of the sessions so far. I'd love to hear. So feel free to unmute and speak up. We'll take several minutes here at the beginning just to give some feedback, and I'd love to hear from all of you.
Well, I pondered all day today about your visualization of the water and addiction and sugar and your 400%. Like, that's brilliant. It's brilliant. And it was such a great visual. I really enjoyed it. In fact, I shared it at least twice today. So.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. Thanks, Debbie.
That was just a really.
Was that yesterday?
Yeah, that was yesterday.
I got to put a comment in there. I talked to my husband about that, with the 100 being the same as orgasm. He's like, oh no. Anyways.
Yeah. It's when I first read that study and then I heard them explain the study, I was blown away. Like it was crazy, just crazy. But yeah, such powerful information that helps me. And the truth of the matter is, coming back to 100 is actually healthy. Like, that's the healthy place. And it's like, wow, but we're all aiming for 400 to 1200, and it's like, yeah. What else stood out to one of you? Feel free to share. This is a good time. It might help trigger memories from yesterday. It might bring up questions for someone. So go ahead and share.
One thing I've often said I'm addicted to food, but I can't go cold turkey like you can with smoking or alcohol or whatever the other addictions are, right? But and so I've really put it off. And yesterday's, when you said that you were a food addict, that was huge, because that's how I hate using the word, but I identify with that, because that is my addiction. Food is my addiction. And I need help, right? And so there's no shame in it. You just need help. I need help, right? This is my vice. So that was good.
Good. It's a difficult thing to say the words, I am an addict, right? For me, I am a food addict. Yeah, hard things to say. Good. That's like huge progress. I love that. Who else would like to share from either of the days? Go ahead, Cindy. I saw your hand.
Well, I just have something to say about what Pam said, because I remember having your discovery call with you, Carla Ann, and she's like, well, you're like, well, I help disordered eaters. And I'm like, I'm not a disordered eater, like, in denial. And then when I did say it out loud, like in the beginning, that was freeing for me. Like, I am a disordered eater and I need help. Like, it's kind of like, that's when I finally started realizing and healing from a lot of the past stuff and moving forward. And Valley's post just reminded me of that too, like just that vulnerability to put it out there. And, like Brene Brown says, if you follow her, like, you got to say shame. Shame doesn't like when you talk about shame, shame doesn't like when you talk about shame.
Right. Yeah. Shame doesn't like when you talk about shame. Exactly. And when we get to that point, it's kind of like taking it from hiding it inside. Like, we know there's an issue, but somehow we think we can keep it in. But it's when we bring it out and we hold it out here. Now we can control that rather than having it from here. It controls us. And that's like such a shift. It's like in our mind, but it's also in community. It's also in relationship. It's also in accountability and tangibility once we can admit it and say it. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. Anyone else have any takeaways from the last couple of days? Anything that's just stood out to you, or questions, something like that? Would love to hear from everyone.
I kept pondering too the fact of the correlation between the high levels of sugar and depression, bipolar, anxiety. It made a lot of sense. Like it was that was a really different I mean, I've heard the correlation before, but not put so well. It was a very visual, very easy correlation to see.
Thank you.
And Alzheimer's, is
Yes,
huge
yes.
with the fat and the sugar, the low fat and the high sugar.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such an interesting thing because we often we think it's hereditary. So many things that we consider are hereditary, they're not. What's hereditary is the fact that we probably are eating like our parents. And that's the part that's hereditary. And so it's going to cause the same trouble in our bodies. Now, there are some things that are hereditary. Clearly, that's a thing. But many of the things that are avoidable, such as hypertension and high blood sugar, like diabetes, those things are way less hereditary than we like to use that as a justification for things. So Mavis, or let's see, I have to move my screen here. Mavis or Valley or Becky, do you have anything you'd like to share from the last couple of days? Something that stood out to you?
Right now, I can't remember anything from yesterday, so no.
Thanks for being honest. I love that. I love that.
I only remember that I was very sad that when you said that our brain will always remember that old pattern.
Yeah.
So I just found that very, very sad. So 10 years, 20 years down the road, I'm never, ever going to be able to, change my pattern, my thinking.
You can, right? So that's the old pattern. But when you make a new pattern that's the new pattern. So let me give you a story. This was one of the tests they did. Becky, I'll come to you in a minute. That one of the tests they did was on mice. So this is how they began to study this, was on mice. And this is in a book called The Power of Habit. And right now, I'm sorry, I cannot remember the name of the name of the author. I'm sorry about that. If you really want to know,
I'll look it up. I'll look it up and put it in the chat for you if you want me to.
Okay, super. It's a yellow book with red words on it. So what they did is they put mice into a maze and they put cheese at the end. And it took the mouse some time to find the cheese. And then they, the second day, the cheese in the same place, and it didn't take them as long. And then the third day, and then within a very short time, they never tried any other path. They just went directly the shortest path to the cheese. And they did that for a long time. And then what happened is they moved the cheese, and the mice ran in and they went their same direction, and then they got lost. Some of them got aggressive, some of them showed some signs of sickness, but they did eventually find their way around and find the new cheese. And they kept it in the new place for a long time. And what happened was, it did not take very long for the mouse to come in and immediately go to the new spot. They didn't even try the old path. They just went straight to the new one, which is really a good sign, because that, like our mammal brain, it will do the same. When we keep giving it the new thing, our brain is going to go to the new thing. However, then what they did is they moved the cheese again. And the first place that the mice went when they couldn't find their cheese was back to the very first original route. And that route is the one that they would default to when the cheese is moved. Okay? So when they translated that into human behavior studies, what they learned is that we have this path, this first initial path. We can totally change that path. And that path can get completely changed, and that can become our go-to. But if we change our goal at the end and we make a change so that we're making our brain confused again, our brain will want to default to the original path. And so that's where that comes from. So can you change it? Absolutely, you can change it. Absolutely, you can change it. The thing is, then pick a good, healthy one that you're not going to want to change again, that you're going to stick with for a long time. That's why even these fad diets and these things that people go on short term and then they fall off, whatever, those are not healthy, because you need to have that long term, lifelong kind of commitment to that, and then not changing that. As soon as you kind of change it, your brain will want to go back to step one. You can bring it right back, but that's going to be a little bit more effort again. You're going to have to coax that brain back into that path, but you totally can change it with commitment and consistency. So I hope that's a little bit more hopeful, Valley.
I posted something about growth mindset there.
There's also another piece about this that's super important, that is way more complicated than I can get into in what I have planned for today, but it's the power of 1 degree change. So if you change just one thing in your life, just one thing, it doesn't matter what it is. If you just change one thing, everything else, every single other thing in your life eventually does have to change. It cannot stay the same because you've changed one thing. Let me, like right now, because I wasn't planning on this particular example, I don't have one at the top of my head, but let me just think for a second. Let me give you a story. It's also from that same book. So this company was going under. I'll just make it really short. And big, massive company, they were going under. And so they decided to hire a new CEO, but no CEO wanted to take on this sinking ship. But they did find someone, and he would not tell anyone his plan for bringing this company back from bankruptcy. So on the big announcement day, when he comes in and he's giving his opening speech, everyone is shocked. Everyone leaves. Stock market crashes. Everyone's selling because they think that he doesn't know what he's doing. And this was his announcement. I'm going to change this company around because we're going to make safety our priority. And everyone was like, what? Safety? Like, what do you mean safety? We need to get some sales. We need to get more sales. We need to get our profits up. We need to get out of the red and into the black. But he knew that if you make one change, everything else has to change. And what he did is he rewarded safety. What happened when he rewarded safety? People started showing up to work on time. People started showing up to work early. They stayed for the full length of their shift. They took their training. They took all their safety measures. What did that mean? That mean that they had less sick days. What did that mean? Less insurance payouts. What else did it mean? Is that they had collaborative teams that were looking to help each other rather than be competitive with each other, which meant production went through the roof. And very long story short, within I think it was 3 years, he totally turned that company around with only one change. And that was, let's focus on safety. In our health journey, we can pick one thing, and that one thing is going to necessitate another change, which is going to necessitate another change. And if we submit to those changes, eventually, if we think about that path of the cheese, you're never going to be changing the whole path. So you change one little thing and then you change it back. So I want to give you hope with that. You can definitely make that mindset change as long as you don't go back and stay in that first one. Becky, did you have a comment about the last couple of days?
I've just really been paying attention to how even just having my coffee regularly in the morning I find like I don't have those cravings. I shared that on that group today.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see that. Sorry.
And just how it really it just really opened my eyes to having 1 or 2 cups of coffee, and it takes care of a lot of the cravings. Like,
And was there fat in the coffee?
you bet.
Yeah. That
Butter.
fat is so good.
I don't take a tablespoon of butter. I do a teaspoon of butter and some cream.
Okay. You'll
Although I
even
think
want to,
it's always better than none.
yes, you'll want to increase that eventually to at least
Yes.
1 tablespoon. Yeah.
The first day I put about 1 tablespoon in, and it's really like I haven't like today the kids wanted takeout. It was just me and the kids today. I did an A&W run and I ordered my burger lettuce wrapped.
Nice. Nice. Good job.
It was
Good job.
amazing.
Yeah. That's
And
excellent.
I haven't been starving.
That's very good. That's very good. Excellent. So Valley, I see your question there. Is keto coffee creamer okay, made with butter and whipping cream? So my question to you is, what else is in the keto creamer besides whipping cream and butter? Like, is there sweetener or flavoring? I'm just wondering what else is in there.
Like a sweetened, like a stevia sweetened syrup.
Okay. Like, is it okay? I would never say no to that. Like, sorry, I've got hiccups. As far as like, is it okay? As long as you're getting fat, I would say if you're gonna like, make sure you have a little bit more butter than you do cream. And my preference for sweetener, if you're going to choose a sweetener, would be xylitol before stevia. The reason is stevia does impact hormone, and so if there are any hormone issues, it would be better to move to something like xylitol, which is also an antioxidant. It's not carb free, but if you're not looking to be carb free, it doesn't have, I mean, again, keto doesn't really mean anything to me. But if you're looking at something that's carb free, then stevia would be the better option. Stevia also can be bitter, whereas xylitol, you need less and it's not as bitter, but it also does have antioxidant properties, which stevia does not, and it does not affect hormone. So those would be the two differences between, or some of the differences between them. But if that's what it'll take to make you able to tolerate the butter in your coffee, then start with that. Yep, do what you have to do to get the fat in there. Yeah, that's good. All right, before we get started, is there anyone else that has any questions or comments about the last couple of days? Anything that you want to discuss before we move into today? Because today is going to be a full session. So I'm ready to roll. If you guys are ready to roll, give me a thumbs up. Woohoo! Love it. Okay. So we've talked about step 1, which is getting your fat into your brain, because your brain needs fat. And like, I cannot explain to you how important that is. The more fat you give your brain throughout this process, especially over time, as your brain starts to trust you to give it fat, you are going to find that the impact in your ability to curb emotional eating is going to be huge. Like, that is such a big component of the brain issue that when you get into on a roll with that, you are going to be shocked, just absolutely shocked. So that's step 1. And then yesterday we were talking about the addiction and the way the brain works, and the way the brain is designed to keep you safe, to make sure that any change that you're implementing, it wants to know that you're going to be safe, that you're going to live through this. It doesn't like it, so it might put you into withdrawal. As a matter of fact, you've probably heard like keto flu, or you've heard detox. A lot of that, there is some detox that happens for sure with that. But a lot of that, especially the brain, the thinking parts, like the thoughts that come along with that, even some of the physical sensations are actually withdrawal, not just detox. And that, when you begin to recognize that you can have withdrawal or be addicted to things that are habitual, it's really incredible how powerful your brain is. So that was really a lot of what we talked about today. Today, we're going to move into our next step, which is very, like, hugely practical today. And so we're going to be doing a couple different things. We're going to do, hopefully we'll have time to do a few breakouts, and we're going to do a couple of things together, some exercises together, because today we're talking about the actual what's happening when we emotionally eat. So when we stand in the fridge, or when we are standing, for me, a lot of the times it's the fridge or the pantry. That's where I go. I know for others, it's like sitting in your room, in your bed, with whatever your favorite snacks are. For others, it's driving through a drive-through. So when I say standing in the fridge, I want you just to imagine whatever it is that your go-to place or habit for emotional eating is, okay? So don't just assume that because I'm talking about standing in the fridge that I'm not talking about your situation. I want you to make this applicable to you. I just stand in the fridge. I open both doors and I stand there, and I like refrigerate my entire house because I stand there just looking and looking. But emotional eating can be anything, anytime, anywhere. So yesterday we talked about brain temper tantrums. That's when your brain is having a temper tantrum, and that's like withdrawal. Today we're talking about what's happening in our heart. So if you know that you have fed your brain fat, you are not actually hungry, your body's not requiring nutrients, and you have discussed with yourself, am I in any imminent danger? Am I about to die of malnourishment? Or am I, whatever the situation is, am I truly hungry? If you've actually evaluated all of that, and you are still moving towards eating at this time, that would be considered an emotional eating, an emotional event. And so one of the doctors that I worked with says that every snack is an emotional event, because a snack is typically not to give us nutrients. We eat meals for nutrients. Snacks are a diversion for our brain. So when you think about the fact that snacks are a diversion for your brain, what that's doing is it's trying to distract you from the emotional pain or experience that you're having. Now, I also am an Enneagram coach, and so I know that there's different personalities that handle emotions very differently. I am one of the few that like tries to repress every single emotion. I'm really doing a lot of emotional work to try and learn how to not be as emotionally repressed. But really, in North America, many people struggle with actually identifying their emotions. So what happens is we open the fridge door, usually by habit. We get there, we just show up at wherever our place of habit is. And all of a sudden we realize we're thinking about eating a snack, and we call it a snack, or we call it a night lunch, or we call it a coffee break, or whatever you want to call it. But if it's not a meal that has been planned, remember yesterday we talked about planning, if it's not a meal that has been planned to provide nutrients for your body, then what you are actually doing is medicating an emotion. Now, let me tell you about medicating emotions. Emotions don't need medication. and emotions that are medicated, what happens is you put food into your body and the food ends up on your body and it does not touch the emotion. It completely avoids the emotion. The nutrients or lack thereof, the calories for whatever form they come in, go to your body. The serotonin goes to your brain, but nothing has touched the emotion. We call it medicating the emotions, but yet it doesn't touch it. All it does is cover it and hide it and dig it deeper. So emotional eating is basically another way of saying that you're just going to shovel dirt onto the graveyard of your emotions. Now, all of us know that at some point, those emotions are going to rise to life and they're going to come up again, because that's what emotions do. When God created us, he created us to express emotions. This is why, I not all of you maybe share my faith, but as a woman of faith, I believe what the Bible says, that when we're happy, we should rejoice. And when we're sad, we should mourn. And we should mourn with those who weep with those who weep, and laugh with those who laugh. And there's a time for dancing, there's a time for weeping, there's a time for all these things. And I believe that God created us to express those emotions. That's why we have tear ducts. Mine don't work very well, but we have tear ducts. Why? Because God wanted us to have a way to release this. Our emotions are God-given. They are not bad. Our emotions are God-given. If you have what some people would call a negative emotion, I don't think it is a negative emotion. And an emotion, we can go there, but what some people might feel is a negative emotion, it's not actually the emotion that's the problem. The problem is I'm having an emotion and I'm afraid of my reaction to it. So, for example, if I feel angry, and if I have been taught that being angry is a sin, for example, I am going to want to not express my anger, because by expressing it, I will be sinning. I disagree. Our emotions are emotions, our actions are actions. They are not the same thing. The other thing is, let's say I have an emotion of disgust. And if I want to, I don't maybe want to show that disgust because that might be embarrassing to me. So why do I not want to show this? Because it's actually going to cause another negative emotion of embarrassment. So what happens is we often don't actually get a chance to feel the core emotion that's like sitting under the surface. And so we can find ourselves going down the path of behavior that is what we feel and what our brain feels, again, is safe relationally, safe spiritually, safe reactively, so that we're not exploding or crying or whatever it is that we don't like to do. And so we end up trying to medicate that. And all we're doing is repressing it. So let's just imagine. I want you all to think for a moment. If you need to close your eyes and think, I want you to do that. You're in your own house and we're all having our eyes closed, so no one's going to see. I want you to think about the last time you binge ate or emotionally was eating. So I'm using the word binge because that's usually you can remember that. I want you to think about the feelings in your body just before you ate. I want you to think about where in your body you feel tension when you reimagine that situation. Just take a moment. I'll be quiet for just a moment. I want you to think about how your body felt just before you binge ate. Some of you may have had a lot of things happening in your head. You would have been thinking, and there would have been thoughts and questions and justifications and all of this stuff happening in your head. Others of you might have felt it right across your chest, and you would have felt like emotional. You may have even wanted to cry or laugh, or you weren't even sure, but you felt tight across your chest. Some of you might have felt it in your arms, your legs, or your gut, and you just were like almost driven like from your gut forward like a magnet into that food. All of those parts, no matter what that is not a need for nutrients. Those signals in your body are not your body saying, I need nutrients. All of those signals are saying, you have an emotion that needs some attention. So now I want you to go back to that same scenario, and I'm going to give you a few more minutes. I'm going to time it. I'm going to give you probably 2 to 3 minutes. So it's going to be quiet, and it's going to feel quiet for a really long time. I want you to be busy during that time, paying attention to your body. And this is the question I want you to ask yourself. If you can, remember what happened that day. And I want you to feel and ask, what would happen? What emotion, what happened that is making an emotion right now? Name the emotion. Maybe it's anxiety. Maybe it's fear. And then go farther and say, where does this fear come from? What's it a fear of? Is it a fear of embarrassment? Let's feel that emotion. Is it a fear of loss? What does loss feel like? What were you afraid of losing? Whatever that is, I'm going to give you 2 to 3 minutes. And this might feel very uncomfortable. That's okay. That's okay. I just want you to go through this process for a moment, for 2 to 3 minutes. And then we're going to have some time to share. And I'd like you to be able to communicate, if you can, what some of those emotions were that you may have been feeling at that moment. All right. So go ahead and close your eyes and go back to that moment just before you were binge eating, and how you've paid attention to what your body feels. And I want you to ask yourself, what emotion are you trying to cover? All right. So I'd like to open the floor. Who would like to share about what emotion they were feeling just before they binge ate? This is an opportunity to be honest, and we're all here to support you.
For me, it would be probably a relief of stress, but also worry. A fear of failure for sure. I've tried so many diets or lifestyle changes in the last year or two, and each time you come to a dead end or there is no change, and
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Becky. It's true, those emotions. And then it's like, well, if there's no point, I might as well just eat. And
Yeah.
all those emotions just swirl around. And it feels like, tell me if this feels right to you, if this is what you're meaning, that you feel like you almost can't help yourself and there's no benefit to not giving in.
Yeah.
Is that how it was? I want to tell you that you're not the only one that feels that way. And thank you for sharing. Thank you for being honest that way. That's excellent. Thank you. Who else is ready to share?
Binge eating has been my go-to for the last while, so I know all about that. And one thing that kicks in then is sadness, and exactly like Becky said, the disappointment, the failure, the disgust, and yeah, that's how it is for me lately. So that's keeping it real.
Yeah. And probably tell me if this resonates with you, Mavis, but you already feel that shame and that disgust and that disappointment even before you binge, because you know what it's going to be like after.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for sharing. I love your honesty, Mavis. Yeah. Who else would like to share? I'll share one from recently for myself. I had made a big decision, and I just wanted to, and I was afraid, but I didn't realize I didn't realize I was afraid. What I realized is I was in the pantry, trying to find something to snack on and something to eat, and then I'm like, hang on, I need to go sit in my chair in my room. What is my emotion? And even now I got more clarity on that. There's just so much fear. I made this really big decision. And the fear that I had was it's just going to prove that I'm not smart, and it's going to prove that I'm not good at what I'm doing, and it's going to prove that I'm a failure. And so I didn't want to feel like a failure, and I didn't want to feel like I'm not smart. And I certainly did not want to talk to anyone because I didn't want anyone else to confirm that I'm not smart and that I'm going to be a failure. So it just felt better to sit in my chair and binge eat. Now, I actually didn't binge eat at that particular time, but I will tell you that I did have 2 big bags of pork rinds beside me. Now, that's actually on plan for me, but the whole entire container of blue cheese dressing that I was going to eat with it is not on plan. And the point is, I was not hungry at the time, so it would have been a complete binge because it would have been feeding my emotions and not whatever. And so I moved from that into something healthy. But even just going through and thinking about that again today, I just realized, again, I needed to call my friend and say, hey, this is the decision I made. Did I do good or what? And get some of that affirmation rather than just assume that I'm an idiot and then wallow in my own self, like, what do you call that? Like when you beat yourself up, that I'm good at that. So there we go. All right. So this is what happens. We get to our binge eating moment and we all get there differently. We all have different experiences. Different emotions are going to take us there at different times. Sometimes I eat because I'm super happy. Sometimes I want to eat because I'm sad. Sometimes I want to eat because I'm angry. Sometimes I want to eat because there's a memory that triggers something and I don't want to deal with the memory. Honestly, that's another big one that I went through this winter. And so there's so many reasons. Those reasons don't matter. What matters is that when you get to that point where you are asking yourself, have I fed my brain fat? Is my brain happy? Do I actually need nutrients right now? Have I been eating and feeding my body solid nutrients? Okay, if I have, I'm not hungry right now, which means whatever I put in my mouth now is a Band-Aid for my emotions. And that is not wise. So I need to walk away and deal with my emotions. Now, that is easier said than done. But let me tell you something. There are lots of emotional things that we can do, but before we are even ready to handle those emotions, most of the time, we actually have to calm our brain and our body down. All of us have what's called a fight or flight or freeze response, which comes from your vagus nerve. Raise your hand or give me a thumbs up if you've heard of your vagus nerve. Okay, your vagus nerve, if you touch the back of your head and there's like those 2 bumps, and then in between the 2 bumps, there's kind of that hollow spot. If you could push in your brain, if you could push your finger in there, probably about a half an inch or so towards the stem of your brain, to your brain stem, is where your vagus nerve begins. That's sort of the beginning of it. Then it travels on the inside. So if here's your back, and then this here is your spinal column, it travels on the inside of and then here's your organs. It travels between your spine and your organs, and then it goes right to your gut, right to your gut. But it's also called, I might get this name wrong. It's also called the 1,000-mile nerve, because from that one vagus nerve that travels all the way down, there are like hundreds of fingers of nerves that literally come out through your entire body. This vagus nerve is your main source of information between your brain, your gut, and your heart, actually. So I often do this experiment. If you've ever been in my group and you'll remember this, but I'll do it really quickly here now. I will prove to you that your vagus nerve, which is going to create an emotional response, it will also create a physiological response in your body, because your thoughts are going to affect your stomach. And this is huge. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get you all to close your eyes again. I told you this is an interactive session. So you're going to, no sleeping, no. You have to stay awake. You have to stay awake. And I want you to really engage in the imagination here, okay? So I want you to imagine I'm going to tell a story. When the story is done, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. I'm going to say, okay, open your eyes, and then I'm going to ask you some questions. And the questions are going to be about your body. So, and your emotions, actually. It's going to be both. I'll give you the whole story. Okay, close your eyes and relax. It's a gorgeous winter night. You're alone in your home, and you're absolutely loving the quiet. It's a beautiful night outside. The fire is going beside you, and it's dark outside, and you're just snuggled on the couch. You've got a really soft blanket, your favorite hot drink, and you're reading an incredible book. It's so good. You're warm. It's cozy. You're relaxed. You begin to think that maybe soon you should go to bed, but it just feels so cozy here. You put your head on the back of the couch and just snuggle in a little bit more. Thought crosses through your mind, maybe you would just sleep here because it's so comfy. You're just enjoying it. And you hear a crash in the basement. Open your eyes. Tell me, what did your body feel like before the crash? This is not a hard question.
Very peaceful, relaxed.
Very peaceful, very relaxed.
Warm and relaxed.
Warm and relaxed. Yeah. Any other good words? Okay. So you guys, you felt relaxed. That's good. I want to tell you that the reason your bodies felt relaxed is because I gave you thoughts. I put the thoughts in your mind. The thoughts created your emotion and your physiological response, which made you feel relaxed. Now, what happened when you heard the crash? What did you feel in your body?
It tightened up.
Tightened up? Anyone else
Flight
have a?
response.
Go ahead. What was you saying, Becky?
Flight response.
Flight response. I want to run. Yeah. What happened in your head when you heard the crash? What was going on in here?
Fear, like fear.
Fear? Fear of what? What was the thought that was creating the fear?
The unknown.
Unknown. The question could be, what fell? Who's in my basement? Am I gonna die? Depending on what your thoughts are, is going to depend on what your emotional response would be, right? And your physical response. And so what I want you to notice is that the thought created a physical sensation. It also created like a sensation in your body, but it created an emotion, right? You guys said relax, which is partly an emotion as well. It's not just a physical state. It can be an emotional state as well. So what I wanted you to see is that your thoughts create emotion. Thoughts create emotion. What happens in your brain affects your gut. Your vagus nerve is connected at the base of your brain, and it goes straight through your body, and it goes through everything. That nerve is extremely important. And we talk about the fight, flight, I can never say it, Flight,
Fight, flight,
or
freeze.
freeze. There we go. Flight, fight, or freeze response. And this is super important. Again, remember, God created us this way to keep us safe. However, the problem is in our day and age, that vagus nerve is stimulated for all kinds of reasons. So Becky announced or shared with us when she was sharing about her emotions about the binge eating, she talked about stress and worry. Mavis talked about disappointment and disgust. And I think Pam was talking about fear. Do you know what? These are thoughts in our mind that actually are affecting our vagus nerve, which literally goes down to our gut and it affects our digestion. Not only does it affect our digestion, it affects our physiological response. That means that my body is now going to send out hormones based on the thoughts that I just had. So based on the thought that I just gave you that you heard a crash in the basement, the hormone cortisol or adrenaline was probably released, probably in a minute amount, but that was probably released somewhat for you today when we had that. That's why I didn't go too long with that. In some of my groups, I really take that for a ride, but not at this time of night. I didn't want to do that to you guys because I want you to sleep. But you can actually wake yourself up. And you've probably, I mean, I don't know how many of you are married with children, but I can tell you, you can be in a hot and steamy moment and that doorknob turns and that hot and steamy moment is over. You know what I'm saying? That hot and steamy moment had a thought and your body responds. That is how you're created. It's to keep you safe, not just from the person on the other side of the door, but also the people in the basement. So the problem is we create in our day and age, the stress that we have is often created in our mind. Right now, we're worried about COVID, all the restrictions, the protocols, not seeing the people we love, worried about getting sick, worried about dying, worried about the things that are happening politically, worried about the racial tensions, worried. And that's not even the everyday stuff like worried about a car crash or worried about not being able to pay the bills or worrying about losing your job or worrying about real genuine health crises like cancer diagnoses or whatever. These are real things that cause stress. But there are other things that we create stress for ourselves in our mind. Now, the thing is that vagus nerve that travels within your body cannot be manipulated like other nerves in your body because it's squishing between your spine and all of your organs. So they say that it's the most unreachable nerve in your body, but there are ways to affect it. So what I want to teach you today is a vagus nerve stimulation breathing exercise that can literally take you from being highly activated to right down, ready to sleep. It will turn off your brain and you will actually be able to sleep if you do this exactly the way I'm going to teach you. Okay. So this is called vagus nerve stimulation breathing. So I'm going to give you I can't even show it to you entirely because I can't move my camera to show you me lying down, but this should be done lying down. Okay. Ideally lying down without a pillow behind your head. Ideally on something flat and hard like the floor or a firm bed, not on a pile of blankets, but on something flat and reasonably firm. Okay. It could be the couch if your couch is long enough and your whole body can lie flat, feet and head on the same plane. Okay. So depending on how long your couches are, none of mine are that long. So floor or firm bed, nothing behind your neck. That's step one. Step two, you put your hands, okay, I'm gonna try and set up here. You're gonna see where I'm gonna put my hands. I don't know, you can't see it. Okay, put your hands like this. Put your hands like this. You have to do this, we have to do this together virtually. Put your hands like this. And so the tips of your fingers are on the top of your pubic bone, okay? When you are holding the top of your pubic bone and you're lying down, then you're gonna take a deep breath. And I want you to imagine that you're pushing up your fingertips with your air. And then you keep breathing. Don't take, keep a big long breath. Then your palms go up because you're taking a deep breath just a little bit higher. Then slide your hand towards your belly button. Let it get bigger. A little further up by your waist. It's going to get bigger. And then all the way up your chest, all the way up till you are touching your head. And I want you to imagine that your head is expanding. Now you need to be imagining that your head is completely expanding. As a matter of fact, you can even take your hands out and be breathing in that whole time. Once you get to the top and you're taking in as much breath as you can, then I want you to do a very tight, small squish like this, and then relax, just like, and then just lay there for about 10 to 15 seconds and do it again. Now you need to be thinking about every body part inflating as you go. I'll tell you what's happening in your body when you do this. As you are inflating, and I know that you're not actually inflating all of those parts. I know that, okay? So just hear me out here. As you're inflating your lungs, what you're doing between your lungs and your spinal column is you are activating that nerve as much as you can with the back side of your lungs. Also, on the back side of your diaphragm, it also pushes on that vagus nerve, and at the back of your throat. That's the narrowest part. Because you're taking deep breaths, you are actually stimulating the nerve in the back of your throat. Okay, so that's the physical stimulation of that. But while you're doing that, you're using your brain, and that part of the brain that you're using is stimulating the base of your brain, which is where the beginning of the vagus nerve is. And as you're imagining, now you are sending information through there while you are activating it. And if you are thinking about all the parts as you go through, and then you sort of squeeze it, you curl your body around, which is going to put pressure on that vagus nerve from your spine, slight, but it's going to do some. What's happening is you're telling your vagus nerve, hang on, something's happening here. And yet there's no worry thoughts in your head, because the only thoughts in your head are the parts of your body that you're touching. So your vagus nerve is going to send the message, everything's fine. That was just a big breath. And you know what that does? Shuts off your cortisol. It shuts off your adrenal glands. And you do that. If you can make it to 30, I don't actually know anyone who's successfully made it to 30. Or maybe they haven't, they've just never told me. But I know for myself, usually by the time I get to the end of my 5th round, I roll over and I go to sleep. I'm done. My body has so come down in stress. My brain is so turned off of all the worry and stress that I can now go to sleep and my body can recover. Now, why is that important? You can do this before bed. I would highly recommend that you do it before bed. As a matter of fact, that's going to be your challenge tonight before tomorrow is tonight, before you go to bed, to do this vagus nerve stimulation breathing. And, but also, I'll tell you something. When you are in the middle of looking at this food and you know, I'm going to feel disgust, I'm going to feel disappointed, I'm worried, I'm stressed, stop right there. Hike off to your bedroom or go to the living room, lay on the floor, and do the vagus nerve stimulation breathing. And I'm going to tell you, this is what I'm going to tell you. Your body, your brain is going to fight you. Your brain is going to fight you because your brain says, oh my goodness, something terrible is happening. Carla Ann has a stress, so I need to protect her. Therefore, I need to eat all this food. And if you try and distract it, it's going to go, hang on, we need to stay safe. We need to stay safe. So the first breath is going to be your hardest. Actually, even walking away and laying down is going to be hard. Your brain is going to tell you, people are going to see what you're going to do. This is stupid. Why are you doing this? This is not okay. This is not normal. And your brain's going to tell you to shut up, or you have to tell your brain to shut up, and I'm just going to do this. So this is where you have to remember that your brain is like a 2-year-old having a temper tantrum, and you need to be in charge. So do this vagus nerve stimulation breathing, because it'll totally shut your body down. Right now in COVID, this is huge. This is huge. It will also change your ability to recover. The more you do this, the more likely the next time your body wants to go and do the vagus nerve stimulation breathing, because it goes, that feels good. We like when we don't feel stress. Again, when you do this as a pattern, your brain's going to go, we like this kind of breathing because it turns off all the unnecessary stress and we don't have to overwork. It gives your body the chance to recover. Now, if you do it before bed, turns off your cortisol, your adrenal glands, and it will allow your melatonin, especially if you do it with the lights that are dim or off, it'll allow your melatonin to come up, which is what you want. So breathing is one super important way. And I'm just going to teach you that one way today, about how to handle reducing some of that stress while you're at that emotional eating. I'm going to say the precipice of emotional eating, when you're right on the edge and you haven't quite taken that step yet. All right. Another thing that's super important, Dr. Rob Sivas, who's one of the doctors that really worked with me and I still work with occasionally. He's the one who said all snacks are emotional events. I actually argued with him. I was so mad. I'm like, no, I don't have emotions when I snack. And he's like, you're right. You don't have emotions when you snack because you're covering them up with food. So it's like, oh, that's what I'm doing. So the thing about again, about that emotional event is we often are not ready to deal with the actual emotion itself. For example, let me just give you a little example of what happened to me this winter. I am divorced, and I have, as far as I know, I only have one set of items left in my house that belonged to my husband and I together, my ex-husband and I together. Everything else has been like either he has, or it's gone to the kids, or I've gotten rid of it. I live in a really large house with a lot of people, so I don't have room for it. I've just gotten rid of everything. But there were these two things. They're one set that I totally forgot I had, completely forgot I had. And I was like, whatever, like literally did not even know that I had them. But I had lost something and I was looking for something, and it was rather small and I knew it belonged in the kitchen. So I hauled out my 2-stair step stooly thing and I started going through all my cabinets. I went through all my cabinets and I got to one cabinet, and by the way, I never found the thing that I was looking for. But I got to one cabinet and I opened, and there, now that I was on, because I'm super short, now that I was standing on a step stool looking up, I could see what was on the top shelf in the cabinet. And that's where I saw these two things. It's 2 mugs. It's just 2 mugs. It's nothing secretive. 2 mugs that were, he gave me a mug, I gave him a mug. That's it, 2 mugs. But I saw those mugs and I was like, totally forgot I had them. Closed the cupboard, didn't think anything of it. But it was probably about 4 hours later, there I was literally standing in the fridge, both hands on my fridge doors. And I was like, this is stupid. Why am I in the fridge? There's nothing here to eat. I don't know what to do. Why am I here? What is my emotion? I was mad. I was like super angry, and I could not figure out what, because when I went through my day, I was like, nothing made me mad. I don't know what's going on. Closed my fridge door and went and sat in my chair. I have a certain chair that I feel like I need to sit in when I'm dealing with emotions. And I sat in this chair and I was like, what's going on? And what is this emotion that I'm trying to hide? And took me a while, I'll be honest. And I started to think through, what is this emotion? I was actually journaling, and I was like, oh, the only thought that kept coming back was those stupid mugs. And I was like, wow, it just brought back all the feelings of rejection, all the feelings of resentment, all the feelings of like, betrayal. And I was like, oh, wow, I don't have time to deal with this right now, because I had a client really shortly after, and I was like, I can't deal with this right now. So what did I do? I'll tell you what I did. I started movement. Now, why would I move from emotions to movement? Because movement, again, affects the vagus nerve, because you're going to be breathing heavier. And so what I did is I danced. When it's not COVID, I take dance lessons. And so I turned on one of my favorite dance videos and I started dancing. And again, my body didn't want to. My body did not want to, but I knew I had to do it. So maybe for you, it would go for a walk. Maybe for you, it's go for a run. Maybe it's do some sit-ups. Maybe it's do jumping jacks. Maybe it's run around the house. I don't know what you like to do. Any kind of movement, like turn on some big worship music or your favorite 80s music and dance around the kitchen. Movement at that moment can take off that the physiological pressure that your vagus nerve is sending, so that you can handle the emotions later. What I'm actually teaching you to do here is how to repress your emotions in a healthier way. It's never good to repress them, but if you're going to, because sometimes we have to, doing it with motion is way healthier than trying to repress them with food. Kind of makes sense? You kind of seeing that? So when you are involved with movement, and I say movement, it doesn't have to be exercise. I say I hate exercise. I actually don't. But big muscle movement and something that's going to make you breathe heavy. When you're breathing heavy, the back of your throat's activating your vagus nerve, your lungs activating your vagus nerve. And then what you're doing is you are, with large movement, you're pumping the circulation back into your heart. Now remember, when your heart is beating, it's communicating back to the vagus nerve. And it's saying, well, we're running, we're doing stuff, clearly we're fine. And it can bring that stress down, which is why they say movement is good for mental health. Exercise is good for like making you feel happier, reducing stress. All that's important. So that's another thing to think about. So what I'd like you to do, so we're going to do the vagus nerve stimulation breathing tonight. And one thing I'd like you to do tomorrow, before you eat a meal, or before you emotionally eat tomorrow, I'd like you to do some kind of big motion activity. So figure out what you like, and it doesn't have to be long, like 5 minutes. All you're doing is distracting your body so that you can make a good decision. That's all you're doing right now, okay? We'll deal with the emotions another time. Right now, we need to walk away from the food because that's important. And that's also with reducing stress. Now, with reducing stress, that may include maybe making some changes in your lifestyle that are making things stressful. If you are in a toxic work environment, it may be a good idea to work with someone, a coach or a trainer or human resources at your workplace, someone to decide, is this really the healthiest place for you? Maybe there's something toxic in your, I don't know, in your relationships right now. Maybe it's a good time to say, we're not going to talk about that topic, or maybe I'm going to take a break from this person. If we can reduce stress, that will help. Now, some of those things have to happen, not in the moment, but they can help reduce stress overall, which makes you have more capacity in the moment. And then, of course, you heard that what I said at one point was journaling. So when I went to my room, I was journaling about why these stupid mugs were bugging me so much. And I hadn't even realized it was the mugs. But when we journal, what happens is That is one of the ways we can get our emotions out. Now, we are not handling the emotions. We are not dealing with the emotions at this point. At this point, all we're doing is putting the emotion on paper by naming it. Okay? We're just putting it on paper by naming it. And why am I saying we don't actually want to deal with the emotions right now? Because if you are not ready to de-stress and take your body down and you begin to deal with the emotion, that emotion may cause more stress, which could lead you back to the food. So what we first want to practice, first we feed our brain, we get it happy. Then I wish you guys were all unmuted and I'd like get you to tell me the next one. You're going to be planning and you're going to be dealing with addiction, making sure that you're giving your food or your body actual nutrients, that you're really feeding it. And then now you're going to recognize the emotion and you're going to de-escalate yourself so that you're not going to have an emotional response, that you're going to be hiding the emotions with food. You're just going to de-escalate, and then you're going to deal with emotions after. Now, dealing with emotions, and so that's why the journaling, you'll just bring it up. Ultimately, we want to be able to deal with the emotions. But dealing with emotions is not something that you can do and learn to do just like this. It takes practice. Emotions are difficult.
You need support.
Yeah. Emotions are difficult to understand. They're difficult to feel. One emotion, we think this is the emotion, but when we start doing some work, we realize, hang on, that's not even the emotion. There's 3 other ones underneath that are actually driving this top one. And so we need to do a deep dive into all of this. And Cindy brought up a good point. Doing this with in community is so much better. So with a coach and with someone in community, because what happens is we don't see ourselves as clearly as we think we do. And we often will give ourselves an excuse for our emotions. We also don't recognize our emotions as well as what someone else does when they ask us questions. So let me see if I have it here. I have a resource that looks something like this. And this is a book, it's called Focus on Feelings, that I developed. And this is huge for helping deal with and learn about your emotions. And I'll tell you what I'm going to offer. I'm going to tell you about the offer today. You are actually going to get an email about this in the next couple of hour. I don't even know exactly when. Maybe you already have it. You're going to get an email. I am going to be making you an offer tonight, and it's going to stay open until Sunday night. Okay. And I want, and you don't feel obligated to do this, but if this is something that's going to help you, I want to offer it to you. I am offering Focus on Feelings, this book, together with a 7-week group coaching for emotions. And the reason I don't want to even go into how you deal with all of the emotions in here is because we all have different ones, and it takes time. There needs to be conversation. You need to sit quietly and think through, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? There's work that has to be done with dealing with emotions. But when you do, oh my word, the freedom is incredible. It's incredible. And I'm actually going to say something very bold that I've never said to a group this large before. And I've never said it in a recording, but I am so confident of it. I'm going to say it today. I actually don't think that people can successfully lose weight and keep it off for any length of time if you are not dealing with your emotions. If you are not dealing with your emotions, you will not be able to deal with your disordered eating, and you will not be able to deal with the weight loss or the weight gain, falling off the wagon, getting back on track. All of that is not going to be possible unless you are also dealing with your emotions. I know that. I have experienced it, and I have had lots of clients. And I can tell you, the ones who refuse to deal with their emotions, they only want a diet. They come to me like, just tell me what to eat. Just tell me what to eat. I'll do it. I've got strong willpower. I can do it. I can stay with it. You know what? They are the ones, because they're not willing to deal with this. 6 months later, they're off plan and they've gained back all their weight. Let me tell you, it's not the plan, because I don't even give them a plan. They just eat according to their own, what their bodies tell them. But I can tell you that the people who are willing to deal with their emotions actually find way more success. So I'm offering a 7-week group coaching course and this book, and I am actually also offering a whole package deal at a stupid price. You're going to get, so what I do is I do year-long group coaching. Tomorrow, I'm going to explain why, a little bit more about why I do the group coaching the way I do it. But it's for health. So you do not need to have to lose weight to be part of the program, but it's a whole detox and then rest. So yeah, it's going to be hard. You're going to go through withdrawal. If you wonder if you're an addict of anything, you will definitely find out when you go through this program. If you know for sure, if I'm working with someone who I know absolutely for sure is an alcoholic or is addicted to some kind of drug or substance, or has maybe decades long addiction to sugar, I will have a customized approach for you. But if you've been testing the waters with healthy eating, chances are you'll be fine. You'll still have some withdrawal symptoms, but I take you through a 3-week detox and rest program. And I walk with you every single day. You have access to me 24/7. I never leave you alone. I am always available for you. At the end of the 3 weeks, we just start adding food and I teach you how. I give you ideas on what to add. I teach you what to watch for. We do what I call a Webb's check-in every time. Again, every single day, every step of the way, every step of the test, 24/7, I am available. Well, I do sleep. Let's just make that clear. I do sleep. I do my vagus nerve compression breathing, and then I sleep. But every step of the way, I am available for you. As much as you need of me, I always reply. So I always am involved, because I do not think you can do this without support. Doing this together with that emotional work is so powerful. I've never run them simultaneously before. I wish I had. Now I'm going to start. All right. And then after 6 weeks with intensive coaching on the detox part, now you go into group coaching where you get education from me, support, an hour a week, and you get community. And the community is amazing. And so the reason that I'm telling you about this today is because we're talking about emotions, and the emotion, it's called an emotions mastermind that I'm going to be running for 7 weeks. And it's going to be based on this book. And I'm going to give you exercises that you're going to be doing every single day. We'll do exercises in the group coaching group. And you will be trained in how to do this at home on your own in the moment, so that you have tools. You're going to get 7 weeks. 7 times 7 is 49 times, at least once a day, that you'll be doing this. You are going to get so good at being emotionally aware that when those temptations for emotional eating come up, you are going to be so much more equipped than what you are right now to make a lifelong health journey change. And that's huge. So that's part of it. The other part of it is that 12-month process. I'm going to see if I can, I did not plan this, so just let me see if I can quickly pull this up. This is clearly not very professional, but I'm going to try to show you something. And you'll end up seeing this in your email. You'll click through to your email in this. But I want to show you what this is. Now, I just want to say, if you are currently a health coach client of mine, you will not be getting this email. You're going to get a different email because you're already in this program, so it makes no sense for you. It would be a waste of your money. So I would never ask you to do that. Just a second. I just did something ridiculous. Okay. And I never ever want you to be paying for something you're not going to use. So there you go. So you guys, if you are in my coaching class group right now, you will get a completely different kind of email. Okay. Tell me if you can see this. Can you see this? It says Conquer Cravings Mastermind.
Yes.
Yes. Mavis, you say, oh, yes. Okay. All right. So this is the mastermind offer here. So this is what I'm offering for you guys. 6 weeks intensive stage coaching. So go through and read all of this. You're going to get your Web's journal that I believe it's about 60 pages. Maybe it's 80 pages. I don't remember. Sorry. It's a year-long PDF. You print it out and you do all your record keeping and journaling for an entire year. I am looking into having that printed right now, just so you have an update right now. To get that book printed and mailed to you is supposed to be close to $80. So right now I'm just going to stick with a PDF so I can keep the cost of this down a little bit. And then all day Signal access. So this is, you have access to me in a Signal group. There is the group, and I do answer every question that comes in. I answer it personally. I am there for your support. In the moment you're out shopping and you need help, you post in there. If I'm not free, somebody else in the group has probably been there, done that, is going to help you. All right. After those 6 weeks, you go through 42 weeks of active stage coaching. During this coaching, you get 1 hour, at least, lots of times we go over, where you get live teaching or video live streaming, video teaching. And then you get community support. We do weekly web support. And in those group coaching, there's often one-on-one opportunities. I do take time to answer one-on-one questions, to give one-on-one support. We talk about recipes, ideas. You're going on vacation, you want to know what to do. That's where we make our plan so that you know your plan for the week. Then we're also going to be doing that 7 weeks emotional mastermind, and you're going to get the book. Now, the value of this on my website right now, $3,508. I am charging right now only for you guys. Now, again, if you're my client currently, this is not for you. This is what the price is right now. And I'm only offering this through till Sunday night. The reason is this mastermind here is going to start this next coming week. We want to get started and we want to do it all together. So this would get you all of that in there. So anyway, I wanted to make sure I offer you that today because we are talking about the emotional part today. And I cannot, I can give you the tools to de-escalate your emotion, but to actually handle the emotion, get to the heart of it, release the emotion, bring healing to that emotion. We can't do that in one quick session today. But with the breathing, the journaling, the movement, and good healthy sleep, which is, I sort of touched on that, good healthy sleep at the end of the breathing. These things are going to make it much more possible for you to de-escalate the emotion so that you can, at an appropriate time, actually handle the emotion that's causing the emotional eating and craving. Does that all kind of make sense to everyone? Yeah? I want to see some thumbs up. I'd love to see, I can't see you, Becky. You're all in the dark now. Okay, there we go. And Valley is hidden and I still can't see Debbie. All right, good stuff. All right, so there we go. That's today. So your challenge is, this is what I'd love for you to do tonight. I'd love for you to do the vagus nerve compression breathing. And if you have any questions, just put them on the chat. I do have another meeting after this one, but put it on the chat and then I'll try and check it before I go to bed and give you some tips. And then the second thing is, sometime tomorrow, I would love it if you could do some movement throughout the day before you eat. Because as you de-stress, it's going to change the push that your emotions are going to give you to eat more or to eat emotionally. All right. Now, tomorrow our session is at 9 a.m. So I know, super early, you guys have to get up. So you had me tonight. You're going to have me first thing tomorrow. We do have some guests that are sharing tomorrow. Some you know, some you don't know. And I am excited about it. I am going to be talking to you tomorrow about there is one key that statistically changes your ability to be successful in lifelong change. And tomorrow we're talking about that. And so I'm excited about that. That's actually one of my favorite topics and the foundation of how I have designed my business. And so, yeah, I'm excited about tomorrow. You should have an email in the next little while that will explain everything. You can click on it and go through. And then tomorrow, if you have any questions, we can talk about that again. Tomorrow's session may go a little longer than usual. I'm trying to keep it in, I had said 60 to 80 minutes. We've been hitting 80 to 90. So just so you kind of have that in your mind for tomorrow. Are there any questions before we sign off tonight?
I have a question. You talked about how your new intake, or I don't, that's what I always call it. The new session talks starts next week. How does that work if we are going on holidays this summer? Hopefully we can go on holidays this summer. Like how, honestly, if I would start something, I want to start it now, but how does that play into things?
How does that play into things? Okay, so when you say summer, are you talking like June? Are you talking July? Are you talking?
We have right now we have 2 weeks that we are planning to go away, not back to back. One is the end of June over July 1st, and then middle of August. So.
Okay, I don't think it's an issue actually. Cindy might be able to give you a bit of a perspective on this too, but and the reason I say that is because she started right before Christmas, and this was a question that they had at her group. But this is my thing, is that first of all, you would be done your 6 weeks, like your first 6 weeks. So you'd be totally done that well before you go, which means that you're going to have, depending on your body, you're going to have a lot of good options to be eating. But again, this depends on your body. I am never going to promise you how your body's going to respond to food. I don't know how your body's going to respond to food. I make no promises about that because I don't know your body. So I teach you how to know your body. This is what I can tell you. If you go through this program now, 6 weeks, and then you have your holiday, you are going to feel so much younger, and you're going to have so much more energy to have fun on your holiday that it would actually feel like I would be mean to you to say, wait till after, because you're going to be feeling groggy and grumpy and emotional and bloated, and you're not going to have nearly as good a time. Will you be eating the same food as your family? Probably not. But there's one of the sayings that we read in a meme, another girl in another group she saw this meme on I think Instagram, and it's like there was a picture of an old man with an oxygen tank and IV hooked up and in a hospital bed, and there was another man putting on his running shoes, and they were both the same age, but one of them was exercising, and it's like both are hard. Choose your hard.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it depends. Do you want to go on your vacation and feel like $1 million and have lost a couple pounds and have the energy to do the things you want to do? Or do you want to have the food you want to eat? It's not a decision I can make. And I never, ever force anyone to do the program. I don't want anyone in the program that is not ready, that doesn't want to. That's not my plan. I only want people here that actually want change and that are committed to really a lifestyle of health and growth. So if this isn't the time, no offense taken. I hope you learn from all of these things that I'm sharing with you, but I never, ever want anyone to feel like, oh, she's forcing us. No, no. If you feel forced, then don't.
And I don't feel it either, but I'll be honest, I don't want to do the detox when I'm at the lake. That was
you wouldn't,
yeah,
that detox, and that's why we're starting now.
Yeah.
So the detox is done hopefully by July 1st.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep. Any other questions?
Like, what does that detox look like?
It's different for every person. So what are you actually asking?
Is it like where you go without food for a certain amount of time, only on liquids, stuff like that?
Nope. You will eat food every single day. You will eat the same thing. I'll just be honest. You'll eat beef.
Okay.
And fat and water and buttered coffee and salt.
Okay.
Yeah.
And magnesium.
And magnesium. Yeah. A certain kind though. Don't go buy any. Yeah. Cindy's going to go. Okay. Have a great night, Cindy. Thank you. See you in the morning. No, I actually am going to tell you to eat a lot of food at the beginning. And it'll probably be uncomfortable because I'll be telling you to eat more. And you're probably not going to believe me. And then you will finally believe me. And then you're going to go, wow, I didn't know I'd feel so good. And then you're going to probably hate me because your body will start the detox. Mavis is laughing. You're probably going to hate me. And if you've never said bad words, you will say bad words about me because you're going to hate your body and you're going to hate the withdrawal symptoms. And you're going to be texting me every half hour and I'm going to go, Becky, you can do this. I know. Here, try this. And every time you message me on that Signal app, I'm going to say, try this, Becky, you can do it. I'm here for you. And I will support you all the way through. And so will everyone else on the app, because that's what we do. We are a supportive community. And you'll make it through. And you're going to say, okay, Debbie, thank you for that. If you have any questions, we'll be here again tomorrow morning. So have a great night. I hope your people won their game, whichever game they won that they're going to celebrate tonight. Yeah, so there's definitely going to be some detox and withdrawal, honestly. And it's going to be hard, but it's not as hard. For some people, it's much harder than other people. I suspect, given that you've tried keto and you've tried a lot of things, it's not going to be as hard for you as it would be for someone who's like literally always been on sugar. They've never ever been on a diet. They've never gone sugar-free for anything. It's really hard for them. But you've done keto, you've done different things. So I think you can probably handle it. I know you can handle it. I don't know how easy it'll be, but I know you can handle it. Yeah.
I am currently not eating any sugar.
Then it'll be super easy. Well, no, I'm not going to say it's not going to be super easy.
You know, like I have potatoes or carrots, but to a limited amount.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter about that right now. When you go through the detox, if you're not having sugar right now, it's going to be way easier than if you were having sugar. So your detox, you will still go through withdrawal because you're still addicted to a pattern of food. Yeah. And that pattern addiction is still an addiction, right? That habit is still a habit. And so we'll break that. And I will teach you, you're going to go through a period of neuroplasticity where I call it plastic brain, where your brain is actually going to be begging for new habits. And I will tell you the day that you hit that, because you're going to start complaining and you're going to be telling me things, and I'll know exactly when you start. And as long as you're communicating with me. And at that point, we can start to build some really healthy habits if you're willing to do it and make some significant shift right there. But yeah, within 3 weeks, like the hardest part, the longest that I've ever had someone go is 7 days as far as having a really hard withdrawal. But the truth is, most people, that's only one person. Only one person has lasted 7 days. The others are almost all done within 4. Some are done within 2. So it's not an eternity. It's not 3 solid weeks of awful. It's not. But there is a few really hard days. I'm just going to be really honest about it. And I know you guys can do it because lots of people have done it, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about what your brain is telling you at that moment, and you're going to be surprised and you're going to notice it. But the fact that I'm telling you ahead and you can plan will actually reduce the impact. So that's the other piece. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Super. Any other questions? Then oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I just have one question. I got them email, and
Okay.
it's US dollars. Is that a typo or is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
It is US dollars. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Super. Then I will see you guys in the morning. Bye.